My hand trembled as I gripped my steering wheel, staring at the empty parking space where my car should have been. The familiar dent in the concrete from years of parking in the same spot seemed to mock me now. Confused, I pulled out my phone and dialed my mother's number. "Oh, honey." Mom's voice was syrupy sweet, the tone she always used when she knew she'd done something wrong. "I was just about to call you. Mom, where's my car?" "Well." She paused, and I could picture her twirling her hair like she always did when she was trying to justify something. "Tommy's wedding is coming up, and you know how expensive these things are. The venue alone is eating up most of our savings." My stomach dropped. "What did you do?" "We sold your car," she said brightly, as if announcing she'd bought me a gift. "Family comes first, sweetie. Tommy needs this money for his perfect day." I stood there stunned. The car I'd bought with 3 years of savings from my first job. The car I still had 6 payments left on. They'd sold it without even asking me. "How could you? That was my car. I'm still making payments on it." "Oh, don't be dramatic." Mom dismissed my concerns with a laugh. "Tommy's wedding is at the Grand Palm Resort. Do you know how expensive that place is? We needed every penny. Besides, you can always buy another car." The Grand Palm Resort. I bit my lip to keep from laughing. If only they knew. "Did you even have the right to sell it?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level. "The title was in my name." "Your father handled all that," she said vaguely. "He has his ways. Now about the wedding. You're still coming, right? Tommy wants everyone there for his special day." Tommy. My perfect older brother who could do no wrong. The golden child who'd spent his entire life being handed everything while I worked for every scrap I got. "When did this happen?" I asked, ignoring her question about the wedding. "Just this morning. The buyer was very eager. Paid cash." She paused. "Honey, I know you're upset, but family comes first. Tommy needs this." Family comes first. Their favorite phrase, but somehow it only worked one way. When I needed help with college tuition, family didn't come first. When I needed a loan to start my business, family didn't come first. But Tommy? Heaven forbid Tommy doesn't get exactly what he wants. "I have to go," I said flatly, hanging up before she could respond. I walked back to my apartment, my mind racing. They had no idea that 5 years ago, when they'd refused to help me start my business, I'd taken that rejection and turned it into fuel. While they bragged about Tommy's middle management job at some corporate office, I'd built something real. Opening my laptop, I pulled up the ownership documents for the Grand Palm Resort chain. There was my name clear as day. CEO and majority owner of one of the most successful luxury hotel chains in the country. I kept it quiet, using a holding company to mask my ownership. Not out of shame, but because I wanted to succeed without my family's interference. And now, by some cosmic joke, Tommy had chosen my flagship resort for his wedding. My phone buzzed again. A text from my father. "Don't make a big deal about the car. Your brother deserves a perfect wedding. Don't ruin this." I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Opening my email, I typed a quick message to my resort manager. "Please ensure all paperwork for the upcoming Thompson wedding is processed under my personal account. And James, make sure my name is visible on all the documents the bride needs to sign." The response came quickly. "Of course, Ms. Thompson. Everything will be arranged as requested." I leaned back in my chair, thinking about the weeks ahead. They wanted Tommy's wedding to be perfect? Oh, it would be perfect, all right. Just not in the way they expected. Let them enjoy their moment. Let them think they've won again, selling my car without permission to fund Tommy's extravagant wedding. Soon enough, they'd learn what real success looks like. And I would be there to watch their faces when they realized exactly who owned the empire they were so desperately trying to impress. Sometimes revenge doesn't need to be loud. Sometimes it just needs to be perfectly timed. The day of Tommy's wedding arrived, and I dressed carefully in a tailored Chanel suit, classic black, elegant, powerful. The kind of outfit that screams success without saying a word. As I drove my new car, a significant upgrade from the one they'd sold, to the Grand Palm Resort, I couldn't help but smile at the irony. The hotel staff greeted me differently than the other guests, of course. They knew who I was, though they'd been instructed to maintain discretion. "Good morning, Miss Thompson," the valet said with a respectful nod, refusing to take my keys. "Your usual parking spot is available." Walking through my own lobby felt surreal. Every detail, from the crystal chandeliers to the marble floors, had been personally selected by me. Now my family was here, thinking they were somehow special for being able to afford one wedding package. There you are. Mom's voice cut through my thoughts. She was wearing an expensive-looking dress, probably bought with my car money. Why aren't you dressed for the wedding party photos? I glanced at her outfit, then at mine. I am dressed. But you're wearing black. This is a wedding, not a funeral. She sighed dramatically. At least try to look happy for your brother. And where's your gift? My gift. She only knew. Don't worry about my gift, Mom. I've taken care of it. She pursed her lips but was distracted by Tommy's bride, Sarah, rushing over with a panicked expression. Mrs. Thompson. There's a problem with the paperwork. They're saying we need to resign some documents. Mom's face darkened. What? But we've paid for everything. The manager says it's just a formality, Sarah explained, clutching a folder. Something about the ownership changing recently. I stepped forward. I can help with that. Mom waved me off. Honey, this is business stuff. Let me handle it. Actually, I said, taking the folder from Sarah, I think I'm qualified to handle this. Opening the folder, I saw exactly what I expected. The ownership transfer documents clearly showed my name, Alexandra Thompson, as the CEO and owner of the Grand Palm Resort chain. I watched as Sarah's eyes fell on the paperwork, then snapped up to my face. You. She stammered. You're the owner? Yes. I smiled pleasantly. Surprise. The color drained from Mom's face as she grabbed the papers. This is some kind of mistake, she said, but her voice wavered as she read my name over and over. No mistake, I said calmly. I own the entire chain. All 36 resorts across the country. Including this one where you're so proudly hosting Tommy's wedding. But how? Mom's hands were shaking. Remember 5 years ago when I asked for help starting my business? When you and Dad said I wasn't responsible enough, and gave my college fund to Tommy instead. I took the papers back from her trembling hands. Well, I did it anyway. Without you. And now here we are. Sarah was staring at me with a mixture of awe and fear. She'd heard all about me, I'm sure. The unsuccessful daughter, the family disappointment. Now she was realizing none of it was true. Does Tommy know? She whispered. Not yet. I smiled. But I'm sure someone will tell him soon. As if on cue, my father's voice boomed across the lobby. What's going on here? He stopped short when he saw the papers in my hands, his face turning an interesting shade of red. Hello, Dad, I said sweetly. I was just explaining to Mom and Sarah about the resort's ownership. By the way, how much did you get for my car? I hope it was worth it. He opened and closed his mouth several times, looking like a fish out of water. Now listen here, he finally managed. You can't just. Can't what? I interrupted, my voice sharp. Can't own a successful business? Can't be more successful than Tommy? Or can't sell something that wasn't yours to sell? The lobby had gone quiet. Other guests trying not to stare at our family drama unfolding. Speaking of which, I continued, pulling out my phone, I had my lawyer look into that car sale. Interesting thing about forging signatures on title transfers, it's actually a criminal offense. Dad's face went from red to white so fast I thought he might faint. You wouldn't, he whispered. No, I wouldn't, I agreed. Because unlike you, I actually care about family. The car's replacement has already been deducted from your final bill for the wedding. Final bill. Mom squeaked. But we paid in full. I smiled. You paid the standard rate. But there are always additional fees. Premium services, special arrangements, last-minute changes. It's all there in the contract you signed. Sarah was frantically flipping through the papers now, her eyes widening as she saw the numbers. This is highway robbery. Dad exploded. No, I corrected him calmly. This is business. Something you should have taught me instead of dismissing me all these years. Just then Tommy appeared, his face flushed with anger. Someone had obviously told him. Is it true? He demanded. You own this place? Not just this place, I said. The whole chain. Surprise, big brother. Still think I'm the family failure. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. You're trying to ruin my wedding. Actually, I'm making it possible, I corrected him. Do you really think Mom and Dad could afford this place on their own? I've been subsidizing your perfect day since you booked it. The preferential rates, the upgraded packages, the complimentary extras, all courtesy of your failure sister. The silence that followed was deafening. Now, I said, straightening my jacket, you have two choices. You can continue with your perfect wedding, knowing that your success depends entirely on my generosity, or you can cancel everything and try to find another venue on zero notice. I turned to Sarah, whose face showed she finally understood the full picture. Your call, future sister-in-law. What's it going to be? The next few hours were deliciously awkward. The wedding went ahead, of course it did, they had no choice, but every compliment about the venue, every praise for the service, every wow over the luxurious details felt like a personal victory. During the reception, I sat at my table, sipping champagne and watching my family try to process their new reality. Mom kept glancing at me like she was seeing a stranger. Dad couldn't look at me at all. Tommy alternated between forced smiles and glares in my direction. As the evening wound down, Sarah approached my table alone. She looked stunning in her wedding gown, but her expression was troubled. They never told me, she said quietly, sitting down beside me. About how they treated you, about the car, about any of it. They always just said you were different. I nodded. Family stories often depend on who's telling them. She twisted her wedding ring nervously. I know this is probably too little too late, but I'm sorry. And thank you for letting the wedding go ahead. I'm not them, I said simply. I don't hurt people to make myself feel better. She nodded, understanding. Will you tell me sometime about how you built all this? I studied her face, seeing genuine interest rather than the calculation I was used to from my family. Maybe, I said. But first, you should know that Tommy's job application was rejected by my company last month. He doesn't know it was my company, of course, but you might want to discuss career plans with your new husband. Her eyes widened slightly, but she nodded. I think I married the wrong sibling, she attempted to joke. I actually laughed at that. Go enjoy your wedding, Sarah. And remember, success doesn't always look like what people tell you it should. As she walked away, I saw my parents huddled in a corner, probably trying to figure out how to approach me about the additional fees I'd mentioned. Let them worry. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about hurting people, it's about showing them exactly what they missed out on. I stayed until the end of the reception, watching as my family tried to maintain their dignity while knowing that their entire display of wealth and success was actually built on mine. As I walked to my car, my new, significantly more expensive car, I heard my mother calling after me. Alexandra, wait. I turned one hand on my car door. Yes, Mom. She seemed to struggle with her words. We should talk. About everything. Maybe over lunch sometime. I smiled, but it wasn't entirely kind. Sure, Mom. You can come to my office. I own the building downtown with the best restaurant on the top floor. But don't worry, I'll give you the family discount. As I drove away, I caught a last glimpse of them in my rearview mirror. My parents, Tommy and Sarah, all standing there watching me leave. They'd spent years trying to make me feel small, trying to force me into their shadow. But shadows disappear when you shine bright enough on your own. The next morning, I sat in my office reviewing the final bills from the wedding. With a small smile, I adjusted the numbers, removing the additional fees I'd threatened them with. They'd learned their lesson, no need to actually bankrupt them. Besides, success isn't about revenge. It's about rising above those who tried to keep you down. And I had risen higher than they could ever imagine. Maybe next time they need a car, they'll think twice about whose they take. After all, family comes first, but only when family means everyone, not just the chosen one.